We are recording.
All right, we're live, ladies and gentlemen. This is podcast episode number 11. Is that right, Houston? Is it 11 or was last
No, you
week's
are
11?
wrong. It is episode
Ah,
12.
all right, we're on 12.
Come
We
on,
got a
Sean.
guest.
Get
We
your
got a
act together.
guest speaker today. His name is Bob, also known as Jake Blues. He
Oh,
did
Sean,
did
Houston, thanks.
Absolutely,
Jake.
absolutely.
He did Jake from the Blues Brothers for a long time. He's a performer, he's a wonderful singer, and he went to the original Woodstock. So, Bob,
What?
tell us what it was like being in the original Woodstock.
Well, if it's all right, I'll just tell you my story and you can cut me off anytime.
Yeah, I'll cut you off with questions.
I'll leave Sean in charge of doing that.
That's all right.
That's his job.
Just cough if you need to.
I can do that.
Well,
I can do that.
You said 6, so that's
Yeah, I've got a cold, but you guys won't catch it through the computer.
Back in the days of the 60s, of course. I graduated from high school in 65. I'd been in a horrific accident in high school, and I really wasn't recovered totally for a few years after that. But it came along that I was going to junior college in Auburn, New York, and my brother was going to Syracuse University. He happened to see an ad in the Wall Street Journal about this music festival, and he said, we should go to this. So I looked at the music festival, and it had Sly and the Family Stone, The Who, Creedence Clearwater Revival, all these bands that were just off the chart. So we said, well, we lived in Syracuse, so we were about 3.5 hours from the venue. So let's go. So I had an MGB at the time, this little sports car, and my wife of 52 years, her brother was with me, and my brother. We got in that little sports car. We had camping gear, we had food, we had everything ready to go. Took off Thursday morning of the concert weekend and headed towards White Lake. On the way there, in Route 17, traffic was backed up to where you couldn't move a car anywhere, and there was a farmhouse there with a gentleman on the porch. The farmer had these coveralls on. He'd just gotten done with his breakfast and rolled a toothpick in his mouth. He said, if you don't mind me asking, where the hell's everybody going? I go, well, it's not, we're trying to get to White Lake. And he rolled that toothpick in his mouth, smiled, and looked at me and said, son, you see that dirt road right there? Yeah. That'd take you right to White Lake. We got in the car. We backed up the cars on his yard, took off and went down that dirt road with everybody following us. And where we wound up was in a bunch of trees right behind the stage.
No way.
What? What?
Right behind the stage.
That's crazy. That is crazy.
It was I'm a believer in the Holy Spirit, and the Holy Spirit was definitely with us on that day. So we wound up behind the stage, and we had this clump of trees, and we put our tents up, and there were people, and again, you have to remember that we were just middle-class American boys. I'd never seen drugs, never seen anything like that. Nothing, especially anybody naked. And all of a sudden, everywhere I looked,
drugs and naked people.
Oh, there, all these naked people. So we got our tent set up, and I was sitting there, and I had a pair of shorts on, and I'm drinking some water, and all of a sudden I feel this tap on my shoulder, and I turn around, and there in front of me was a very nice young lady with absolutely no clothes on.
Wow.
And she said, would you mind if I have a sip of your water? And I said, well, sure. Do you want my car? You don't have to sleep in my tent. I'm joking a little bit, but anyway, I said, I looked her right in the eyes, gave her some water. She thanked me. And then she took off, and there's a pond not too far from where we were. And we started to walk down to the pond, and realized that we were the only people there with any pants on. So as two young.
So imagine you have pants on and you stand out because you're the only one wearing pants.
Yeah,
Could you imagine that feeling? Like being embarrassed?
It was really it was an odd feeling for somebody that had never been around something like that before. And so what we did was we obviously compromised, and we went down to our underwear. And I'm not BSing you. These are true. This is a true story. So we got ourselves settled. We went through the woods there a little bit, up over this road, and then wound up right in front of the stage. So we were about 5 rows back from where the stage was, and I remember there was a camera mount which was very near to where we were, and there's more about that later. Well, anyway, here we were in the front of the whole thing, and one of our friends had said, "Look, I can't ride in the car with you, but I'm going to take a bus down. I'll meet you guys at Woodstock." So that's another part of the story that's a little bit later on. But anyway, so Richie Havens came out, John Sebastian came out, and it was like, wow, I'd never seen it. We'd never seen anything like that. That's when I first realized this was my first real life lesson. All means all. No matter who you are or where you came from, if we all work together, you can get along. So here was 500,000 people that were just kind of trapped, really. And there wasn't one fight. There wasn't one bad word. Everybody shared everything they had. It was one of the most, it was a life changer for your friend Bob.
I'm sure it was. I'm sure it was.
A real life changer. So that's how we got there. And we I don't think we ever did sleep in our tents. There's a whole story there with all the different people that played there. But a couple of the highlights was in the middle of the night, Sly and the Family Stone were on stage, and all of a sudden we hear this voice, "Conky, Conky." It was Rich Sims, who had taken the bus from Syracuse to Binghamton, hitchhiked as far as he could, and then walked into Woodstock. And in the middle of the night, he found us.
Oh, wow.
That is crazy. You talk about a coincidence there. That's crazy.
Yeah, it was really, really crazy. So that was the first part of it. Then we went through the rain and all that stuff. And anyway, it was a life changer. We wound up when we left Woodstock, we wound up having to gather our stuff up. And when Jimi Hendrix started playing the Star Spangled Banner, is when we first started to move away from the concert area. And that was so it was 3 days. Our parents said, "You're nuts to go do this. You're crazy to go do this." And when we got back, of course, what did they say? Our boys were at Woodstock. So a couple,
they had bragging rights.
Yeah, a couple side notes. I had sent money for tickets to Woodstock. They came in the mail the day before we left.
Wow, that's a sign right there.
I still have the envelope and the tickets. So it was pretty crazy. Of course, it became a free concert. There was everything, the hog farm, and one of the things and you can ask questions after. One of the things that I remembered that came back to me just recently, actually, is that I remember there was a guy on stage by the name of Chip Monk. I don't know whether you guys knew that or not, but there was a guy that was one of the production guys. His name was Chip Monk.
I have not heard of him. No.
I always remember that name. Well, let me tell you what happened. So with Chip Monk, I remember that name. And so after Woodstock, I wound up getting to go to Los Angeles and work on the Olympics in 1984. And we did temporary space. So trailers at construction sites, multiple unit trailers for high-tech stuff, all that kind of thing was just temporary space. So I got a call from one of our offices in Seattle that said, "Hey, these guys want to put concerts on in towns that have baseball teams that don't draw." So say Boise, Idaho, it's got the Hawks. They're drawing 800 people. They would bring the Beach Boys or Charlie Daniels in and fill the place, sell the place out. And I said, "Well, who do I talk to?" And they said, "Well, you need to call Chipmunk Enterprises in Escondido, California." I go, "Chip Monk, is that the guy from Woodstock?" And the young lady on the phone said, "How did you know that?" I said, "Because I was there." 10 minutes later, I am on the phone talking with Chip Monk. And he was going through a bad time, a divorce, and things weren't going very well. But he wanted to get a national contract with our temporary space, Jelco Corp, to follow up on this, putting concerts on in towns all across the country. Well, let me stay on that track for a minute. So Chip Monk, I never knew anything more about him. Just, it didn't work out. We lost touch and left it. But about 3 months after that, I get a call at the office, and this guy's name is Patrick Stansfield, and he says, I'm Neil Diamond's road manager, and I put on concerts on my own when Neil's not on the road. So he wanted to put on a concert at Hollywood Park with Katrina and the Waves, Wham, and a bunch of other groups. And so I went to Hollywood Park and met him, Patrick Stansfield, and we actually did the deal for 3 days. It was a big money deal, and Wham, and everything went great. Never talked to Patrick Stansfield again after I met him. So fast forward a little bit, because I want to finish the story, because it's important that everyone, including you guys, understand that you never know who you're talking to.
Right.
Chip Monk and Patrick Stansfield were good friends. They both worked with a gentleman by the name of Bill Graham, who had the Forum in Los Angeles. I never knew this before, about a month ago. So what happened is that they both were promoters and stage managers. And so Patrick Stansfield, Chip Monk is still alive. He lives in Australia. He's 85. Patrick Stansfield passed away. He was the Who manager. He worked with Barbra Streisand. He worked with the Grateful Dead. He worked with Bob Dylan. Patrick Stansfield was the guy. And what happened with Bill Graham and the Forum, Bill Graham wanted to get bigger because the Forum was so small. You couldn't put any more people or charge any more money than he was already doing. So he wanted to go nationally and put on. That's how I got Chip Monk, who wanted to put on concerts at baseball stadiums that didn't work across the country. So the big New York promoters, I don't want to get into what family they're from. You understand what I'm saying? What family they might be from.
Wink, wink.
They
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm
You'll have
saying.
to tell me.
They called they called Patrick Stansfield and Bill Graham and said, we'd like to have you come to New York City because we want to meet with you about your plans to go national. And in that meeting, what they did was to tell them how much family was important, and how much, if they did what they wanted to do, they wouldn't have any family. They wouldn't have any family anymore. And they might wind up in a concrete mixer, something to that effect. So that scared Bill Graham enough to say, well, I'm not going to do that. So that's when I lost touch with Chip Monk, because they canceled that whole deal. And Patrick Stansfield deal went through. I came back to Boise and never knew who I was talking to until my brother and I both decided we were going back to Woodstock, which we did a month ago. And went back, and we grew up in Syracuse. So we went to see our family where they're interned in Hornell, New York. Then we went to Woodstock, to the place where it all happened. And they said, hey, if you guys were originals there, would you mind going through an interview process? And we'd like to we're getting a library of all the people that are still alive that were there. So I just recently did that.
That's
and
awesome.
Of course, we went back and we were able to put together, because it's been 50, I don't know how many years. We were able to find the farmhouse, find the dirt road, which is no longer dirt, it's a regular road, and found how we got to where we were at the concert site.
That's
So
crazy.
That's
crazy.
It's a story that I as I said, the Holy Spirit was involved with me, because it's something that you look back and go, I can't believe that happened.
They need to make a movie of that. They need to make a movie of that, Bob.
I say Sean and I will get 50-50 on the movie rights, and we'll put a script together.
We can call it Easy Rider later. Easy Rider 2. Easy Rider, the second one.
Well, I got to tell you, there's a little bit more, because when the Who played, the Who, we were right at the front of stage. There was a small area, like a press area between the stage, and there's a fence, a fence there between the actual for the us. And so we're watching Pete, and Peter Townsend smashes his guitar and throws it. My brother has his hand on the neck of the guitar, and they pulled it back into the press area. That's how. That's how. And so where I'm going to go with that part of the story is that Woodstock was something that I said to myself, what would it ever be like to be able to play music in front of that many people? That was a dream. It was a dream. It was something I had always wondered about and never had a chance to think any more thing about it until I was 39 and a half years old. And my your parents love you no matter what you do. Your parents love you, but they only can give you what their own knowledge is, right?
Yeah.
They probably never had Houston. They probably never had a podcast, did they?
No, my parents did not have a podcast, although
Yeah.
I'd be very interested if they did had one.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is that so my parents said you can't do music. You don't want to do music. I was a sales and marketing guy. I was able to become the president of a corporation, not a big corporation, but I was able to I was able to do an awful lot of wonderful things, but not music. And so when we moved to Boise, I was at a party with some guys who were in a band called the Mystics. And I'd never been around that before. So the Mystics were a band that in the early 60s had been one of the top bands in Boise. They went to California and did a tape. Didn't hear anything back from the tape that they did, so they disbanded. One went in the Navy, and another one went to prison. They just disbanded, and it was about 6 months later that they called and they said, "You were one of two bands that we thought had a chance to make it." The other band was, I think, the Gollywogs.
The
Do you know who the
Gollywogs.
Gollywogs were?
No, but that's a great band name. The Gollywogs.
Yeah, they changed it to Creedence Clearwater Revival.
Oh, okay. Creedence is a big favorite of mine. I'm a big Creedence fan.
Mine
I
as
didn't
well.
know that was their original name.
So at this party, I got to be careful here. At this party, there were several band members there, and we had a half gallon of Joe Albertson's tequila.
Nice.
Passing it around. And I said to myself, it was 1979, 80, right in there when the Blues Brothers first came out. And I said, you know what? I just had enough alcohol in me to say, I'm smart enough. I'm a salesman. I'm going to get the band back together. And before we left that round table of tequila, they agreed to get back together. And so that was the start of it. I had too much tequila, so I walked out of the house, walked around to the side of the house, and I fell into the ferns, never to wake up again until somebody tripped over me. But I had accomplished my mission, which was to get the band back together.
There you go.
So that led to going to watch the band, and the lead singer got in trouble with his voice. He said, "Do you want to come up? Would you come up and sing a couple songs? Gloria, Louie, and a couple other songs." So I went on stage and did that, came back and sat down with my wife, and my wife said, "How'd that feel?" I said, "I know my parents love me, my dad loved me, but I'm going to do music. I'm going to do music somehow." And that was the beginning of a journey, all from Woodstock, really, that I said, I went and found a guy by the name of Ron Miniger, who looks like Elvis Presley, and he's a really good guy. And I found him doing Elvis Presley. I said, "Have you thought about the Blues Brothers?" And he said, "Well, I'm pretty good Elvis, but I really love the Blues Brothers." He became my partner 30 years ago. And from that day on, we built a band. We had a band that came and joined us. The same members of the band have been together all the time. And in our career, we played everywhere that we wanted to play. We had an agreement with the other Blues Brothers around the country that you don't come here, we don't go there. And in the 1998 River Festival, we opened for Chubby Checker.
Nice.
In front of 100,000 people.
That's a big name, Chubby Checker.
Wow.
It was 100,000. Well, at least there was as far as the eye could see, there were people. And of course, awesome. I had tears in my eyes, boys. I had tears in my eyes because I said, I'd been at Woodstock, and I just thought, what would it be like to do this? And God gave me the opportunity to do it. Now, something happened on that stage that I'm not really proud of, but I was really sick that day. And so I had a terrible problem with, what do you call it? The runs, so to speak.
Yes, we understand.
So I'm dancing on the stage, and all of a sudden, something happened.
Oh,
And I looked, and there it was on the stage.
Oh no.
So
I
we
don't,
finished our,
I'm waiting for that to happen in my life. I'm waiting, like because when I was young, I always said one day I'm going to be on a stage somewhere and I'm going to have to poop. And what am I going to do?
well, be thankful if it's poop, because this was terrible stuff.
This was soup, my friend.
This is that's soup. So we got off the stage, and I was in a terrible way. We signed autographs for special needs kids after that, and then we went. Larry Gebert, who's God bless him, is no longer with us, with Channel 7, interviewed us,
Nice.
and he said, Jake, looks like you left it all out there on stage. And Ron Minner goes, yeah, he sure did, didn't he? To finish that up, after that set with Chubby Checker, we went home. I changed my clothes, and we went to the Blues Bouquet and did 4 sets of music. 4 sets of music.
Toughing it out.
And so music is a hard business to make any money in. So I never had so much fun losing money.
Well, hey, I mean, as long as you're having fun, does the money really matter? You don't need it.
Yeah, so we used to say, hey, look, the music's free. Dragging all this equipment around, going to cost you a lot of money.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the full circle. And the things that I've shared with high school classes and other people is, you never know who you're talking to. So always be careful, and don't upset the apple cart. Don't throw stones, but always kind of know who you're talking to, because Chip Monk and Patrick Stansfield were game changers. If you look up on YouTube and see about them, they were the best in the business with production and stage stuff and sound and all that kind of thing. And I had no idea who I was talking to.
I'll have to look that up. Look those guys up.
Yeah, look up Chip Monk, Monyck. And so now a side story along the same. So after that event, they did have a movie. You guys remember, they put together a movie. Have you seen the movie?
The Blues Brothers movie?
No, the Woodstock movie.
Oh, the Woodstock movie. No, I saw the documentary, but I didn't see because there was a movie they did a few years back.
And what happened there is that when that first came out, when any movie premiere would come out, they would have a book that they would give out at the premiere. So my brother, myself, and my wife's brother Mike got together and said, let's go to the movie. So they gave us the books. And as I sat down in the theater, the lights were still on. I opened the middle of the book, and whose picture's in the middle of that book? Me.
No way. No way.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. That is really crazy.
I still have the book. Anyway, you can hopefully what I want to leave you with is that I hope you can see that it was something that was a gift to me, and it was an opportunity to learn about the world that really set me to a point of understanding that I don't care who you are, where you came from, what you do, we can all get along if we want to. And it was an experience that I still participate in that experience. It's still around me every day. And I hope that I can transfer some of that to you guys and to anybody that's listening, to the fact that all means all, and love means love. So that's my story. Sean, Houston, I'm sticking to it.
Bob, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much, Bob. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Bob.
All right. I hope you enjoyed it. All right. Thanks, guys. Take care.
Bye. See you.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right.
Did I do
We
okay,
are-
Mary? Oh, Sean.
I don't know
Well,
what's
hey.
going. I don't know what's going on, but we're.
we're gonna see you guys. Episode 12.
Oh,
Come back
me
next
out.
week.
okay.